Sometimes I get asked as people get started with treatment and their emotions start to come up and they start to feel maybe that healing crisis where they just like feel out of sorts and, oh, I'm starting to feel angry, or I feel scared and getting anxiety, or their physical pain is getting a little bit worse before it starts to get better. Sometimes people have asked me or said, what if I repress something? Like, what if something really bad happened to me and I just don't remember it? Hi there, this is Justine Calderwood, owner and physical therapist here at the Healing Spot Physical Therapy. Here's my response to that. Maybe something did happen, but most of the time it's not. Okay. So what I've described or explained to people in the past is like, what's coming up is these emotions. Like you might feel like scared or fearful or anxious, like something you can't put your finger on it. You don't know. And the human brain wants to know. Like, it's like, I want to know what happened, but also I don't want to know what happened. If it's something really bad, there's this additional layer of fear of like, what if I can't handle that? What if I was raped when I was little or molested and I just don't know it? Here's the thing I want to address first. You're strong, and there are people that can help you through. If something does come up like that, trust that it's coming up for a reason to your consciousness. And if you do remember something that's happened in the past that you had forgotten, there's all kinds of people that can help you through this, okay? So know that is, you can do it, okay? The other part is, it may not be anything related to that, but that's like the worst case scenario you can think of. Or maybe insert your own story of like, if this happened to me, I don't know if I could deal with that. What does that mean? Maybe sit with that. Why do you think you wouldn't be able to deal with that or handle it? Or like, what's the worst that could happen there, right? But most of the time it's not. So we're going to go back to that. So your body remembers so much that's happened, but your brain has forgotten. Your mind forgets, okay? And that's great in a way because it helps us to get through ordeals that are stressful, that are traumatic, or that are even like little traumatic or a little bit stressful, okay? So what if I'm just going to give you this scenario. What if you're an adult now, you're in your 40s, let's give that example. I'm in my 40s. And maybe what's coming up is you've done some healing work, and the layer that's coming up is when you were 5 years old. Do you think your adult 40-year-old self thinks in the same way that a 5-year-old does? No. You don't have near the tools as a 5-year-old that you do as a 40-year-old. So what could be stuck is whatever happened to you at that time as a 5-year-old, and maybe it wasn't anything that your adult self would go, yeah, that's not a big deal at all. But your 5-year-old is saying, this is a huge deal because it's in reference and it's that perspective of a 5-year-old. So maybe it's all this like anger over not getting your way. You know, I'm like, maybe it was just like, or, you know, maybe it's something like, I don't want to say silly, but maybe it was like, you know, I don't know, I couldn't stay at my friend's house, or I don't know, but it was such a traumatic experience. But it could have been even a series of things of like, you never felt like you ever were seen or heard in your family. And that is trauma, but it's also like, if you think about it, like that's something that can be changed, right? You can start to look at that and go, okay, yeah, maybe I didn't grow up in the best home, but it's not the same as like being molested. Do you get what I'm saying? And so can you shift some of that and go, you know, it really sucked. And like, I wish my parents would have done this differently. How can we be aware of that now? And now be okay with, okay, now I can be seen and heard. I hope I'm getting my point across, but what my point is, like, you can only process and things that get stuck are stuck at that moment in time of where you are at in that moment. Okay, so it may not be necessarily this huge thing that you've, stuffed down and you don't remember. So keep that in mind. And sometimes that just opens up your willingness and your courage in order to be like, okay, I can soften into this and I can feel these feelings and see what the wisdom is behind the feelings. If that's ready to come to your awareness, your consciousness. And this is the kind of work that we can do as well. We use the body here. I know we're physical therapists, right? So a lot of people think that we do a lot of stretching and strengthening, and we do that. It's got its time and place. But the manual work, we get our hands on people and we start to uncover with them some of these stories of like, or even just unlocking those emotions of the body that are trapped in the tissues of the body, that are trapped in, say, your lower back or into your neck muscles or, your shoulder. Think about where you hold your stress and how those muscles have gotten tightened over time in a protective way for you, but it's not necessarily serving you any longer. So if you're ready to dive in a little deeper and you're kind of curious and maybe you're sitting there going, I don't even know what the heck she's talking about right now. That's okay. You don't have to know. But if you know, you know. Meaning if you've done this work before, if you've done some body work, or sometimes this even comes up with yoga. If you've had an emotional experience or kind of unlocked some information that you didn't have access to prior, it's really powerful work. So this is what we do here at the Healing Spot, and what sets us apart in the work that we do is really getting in there a little deeper, and this can be life changing. It is life changing. So, all right, thanks for listening for the 6 minutes I've had you hostage with this video. If you're curious, reach out. Happy to have a conversation with you about this and about your own story, your own pain. So thank you. Bye-bye.